Tell or ask me anything in the chat. Also, sorry for being late. Turtles Duck says 333. Uh, you're saying it's 3:33 a.m. and you're saying that because I'm late 3 minutes. Sorry again. I also type 333 because why not? Just Shi says hi. Hello, Just Shi. Transpower says hey bro. What's up, Transpower? It's Frankie says OMG, remember me fam? I remember your name. Just Shi says how are you? I'm good. Thank you for asking, Just Shi. Tell or ask me anything in the chat. Um, again, I'm good. Right now I'm healthy. No stomach aches, headaches, or injuries. Tell or ask me anything at all in the chat. It's Frankie says, did you have a good Christmas, Don? Yeah, it was good. Thank you for asking. It's Frankie. Transpower says, what headset is that? It's a Logitech headset. It's a very cheap and bad headset. Raxley says, hi Don, I'm glad you are doing all right. Yeah, I'm glad too. I'm glad that I have all of my limbs. Omega says, do you play GTA 5? Sorry, Caps. I don't. I did hear about that update, though, with Michael coming back. I used to play it a lot back in the day. I loved the last team standing modes, like Insurgents versus Rockets. Just Shi says, what's your dream? Like, career dream? I'm not too sure, but I will say that I like video editing, so maybe something with film. It's Frankie says Charlie Kirky. Okay. Tell or ask me anything in the chat. Tell or ask me anything at all in the chat. Anything. Him says, yo bro, you look like Chew. What does that mean? I don't know what Chew means. You gotta elaborate. Eisen says, shout out please. I'm not shouting you out. Transpower says, am I missing something? Did something happen to you, Don? No, I'm normal. Today's normal. Him says, yo, search that person up. I don't. Who? Joel says, I saw Mr. Bean a few lives ago. Oh yeah, I know that guy. He's a fellow vertical streamer. I know what you're talking about. Mel says hi. What's up, Mel? Sandra says, we knew. You're new? Okay. Newbie says, did you ever taste a nuke? I never licked a nuclear reactor, no. Hermes says, good morning. Good morning, Hermes. Eisen says, Max Verstappen. What's that? Is that a Nazi thing? Him says, is black venom living in your throat? Maybe. Maybe something like that. Rosie says, say canal. There you go. Nerve says, yo man, hi. Hello, Nerve. It's Frankie says, hey Don, my granddad has diabetes. I'm sorry to hear about that. I hope you don't get it. Igor says, who are you? I'm a streamer named Don, D-O-N. Nur says, do you support small creators? It depends what you mean by that. Do I watch small creators? Yeah. Trant says Max Verstappen is a Formula One driver. Okay, not a Nazi thing. Got it. Isin says Israel or Palestine. No comment. It's Frankie says it's not contagious. I don't know what you're saying. Zombie says there's a lot of breath on the mic. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I hate when there's breathing sounds in the microphone. Maybe this will help with it. Espart says, why do flat earthers ignore the other planets in the solar system? I don't know, but I'm sure that they have some kind of logic that they use. That they don't just ignore it completely, I'm sure. Chelsea says hair is amazing. It is. Okay, nice to hear. Thank you. Mohammed says, are you gay? I'm not gay. Autistic Perry the Platypus says hi. Hello, platypus. Truly says, but why are you gay? I'm not gay. Fidgen says, dicks in my ass. Good for you. Rumi says H. Okay. Marvik says, hey bro, are you ape gene? Do I come from ape genes? Yes. B says, go to sleep, done. Did you mean done? I'm not tired. Muhammad says, I'm under the water, blub blub. Cute. Turtle says, do you know any funny jokes? A man walks into a bar. Bonk. He actually walked into the bar he collided. Zorium says, spread. What? Fidgen says, do you have a real job? Maybe. My bias says, do you like K-pop? I don't. Zombie says, everyone that says you're gay is gay probs. I don't know about that. Daniele says, where are you from? I live in the United States of America. Chelsea says, I can't tell if this is just sarcasm or your personality. This is my personality mostly. Marcus says, brother, stop answering in one word. I think I like it when live streams focus on the chat as opposed to the creator. Albert says, our cities ate just like stars. What are you saying? It's Frankie says, we are Charlie Kirk. We carry the flame, Dom. Okay. Brianna says, read this comment and then I'll finally fall asleep. Go to sleep. Autistic Perry the Platypus says, boo. You should leave then. Zoac says, two people saying that you're gay, that means you're gay. That's not how it works. Sunno says, what's the proper way to whip poop from buttocks? Just wipe. Nerp says, you sound sick and chill. And when I mean sick, I mean like coughing. I think I do sound sick. Zoac says, I know you're trans. You do? Okay. It's Frankie says, Charlie Kirk or Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, I heard Epstein was a child rapist, so I guess Kirk. Sir Wellington says, you don't move. Don't move. I'm almost done. Well, I wasn't planning on moving, so you're in luck. Him says, are you a furry? No. Gronk says, do you like metaphysics? I do not. Sun says, okay, I usually catch my poop. That's disgusting. Marcus says, brother, why are the pommies saying he is gay when they normalize gay? The pommies? I don't know what you're saying. Racial slur says, how's Kumar? I don't know what you're saying. Milzo says, what did Jeffrey Epstein do? Also, it's me, Martin Smith. I heard he was into child sex trafficking. Frankie says, I poop standing up. You shouldn't do that. Sandwich says plans for 2026. Make a Minecraft server. Sausage says top or bottom. No comment. It's Damn says, do you prefer gays or Jews? No comment again. Cheer says, hi brother. Sup. Truly says, I know he's gay. I'm not gay. Sego says, this is strangely captivating. I mean, you never know what the next message is going to be, so it's interesting. Blackpilled says, I searched gayest person on earth, and this channel came up. I'm the gayest person on earth. Okay. Truly says, yes, he is. I am. Okay. Boogie says, they saving the gun charges for when he gets out. What? User says, biggest animal you think you can beat. The biggest animal I think I can beat is a coyote. Marvik says, hey bro, did you switch account or you change profile picture? I did change my profile picture a few weeks ago. Breezy says, it's okay to be gay. I think that's true. Sausage says, I'd beat that butt. Okay. Josh says, I'm gooning. Good for you. Cobart says, can I be the one who is in your Minecraft server? Yes. Rumi says, do you have a cat? I do not have a cat. Moto says, what is your favorite color? Gray. Alasia says, I dare you to meow for the camera. Give me $500 and I'll do it. Chelsea says, I just subscribed somehow. Somehow loving this. Okay, glad to hear. P1H says, Brianna. Okay. Sada says, I've done the math. If one generation fails to reproduce, we're an endangered species. Endangered species? I don't think so. EJ says, good morning, Donald. What's up, EJ? Racial slur says, do you miss whatever that is? I don't know what that is. Fuck it says, you can't be gay no more. Well, I wasn't gay to begin with. Zach says, can you please give me a shout out? No. Someone says, how old are you? I'm an adult. Marcus says, Pommies are Brits. Brits invented homosexuality or popularized it. Is that what you were saying earlier? Fat Man says, what would you do for a Klondike bar? I'm not interested. Jer says, are you going to SawCon? No comment. Mr. Baum says, remember me, Don? I do not remember you. Raxley says, would your Minecraft server be for you and your friends or open for the chat? Open for the chat. Marcus says, Brits normalized gay. They did? Huh, I don't know about this. Sausage says, would you do something strange for a piece of change? I'm not interested in prostitution. Spooky says, my name is Don Benitez and I live in Quebec, Canada. Maybe that's true. Rain says, are you gay yet? I'm not gay yet. Toasty says, you look like Steve Harrington from Stranger Things if he had short hair. Okay. IP says, my name is inaccurate. I don't pwn. Okay, maybe you should change it then. Jitesh says, after such a long time, bro, how are you? I'm great. Nothing bad has happened since you've last been here, Jitesh. BL says free Daddy or free Cosby. Did you mean Diddy? Uh, I don't want to choose either. Oliver says, are you gay? I am heterosexual. Autistic says, I was trin to scare you. It didn't work. You can try again. Scavenger says, what's your nationality? American. ASG says, please, I'm dumb. Okay. If you were offered 10 million, all you have to do is be locked up in a room 24 hours with Diddy. I don't want to do that. That sounds like I might get raped, so don't want to do that. EJ says bongos or bimbos. What? Kowal says please subscribe. Only if you want to see future live streams. Otherwise, don't subscribe. Just Shish says, you're American? Oh, unexpected. Is that sarcasm? Jay says, I feel ya. Okay. ES says, what's your address? That's private. The Tamim says, are you from Mars? I am not from Mars. Marcus says, are you East Mongoloid? No comment. Marvik says, hey bro, is your real name Donald? Maybe it is. Sani says, again, random live. Hello, Sani. Autistic says, job application. Did it work? Sorry. Adam says, whatever that is. Okay. Sun says, Diddy would fuck the shit out of you. Okay. Richard says, Power Rangers or Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles. Aya says, bro, are you okay? I am. Coca-Cola says, congrats on beating the sexual assault charges from your sister. There was never such a there were never charges. Just Shit says, Dawn, I just checked your description and saw something like Discord. Is it a group or only your ID? It's my username. Larissa says, hi. I said hi. Hello, Larissa. TJ says, where is the tapestry gone? I realized that I didn't like it. Rep says, I'm hangover. What should I eat? I can't help with that. Someone says, avoiding a question for age. Goodbye, adult. Sorry. Carl says, love your channel, bro. It's a cool idea to read out people's comments, I think. I'm glad that you like it. Juju says, watch Skibidi Toilet. That doesn't interest me. Rage says, what's the largest coin you have ever swallowed? I don't think I've done any of that. Swallowed a coin. P1 says, whatever that is. Okay. Tora says, I want to type, but I don't know what to say. Well, I guess that works. Dom says, bro, when are you going back on Grindr? I missed you. I'm not gay like you. Sorry. Zaf says, what did you do to get viewers on streams? Just constantly talk. Colton says, can I have a shout out, please? I'm a small content creator. No. Marcus says, do you play Fortnite? Once in a blue moon. Blixie says, R. Kelly's piss or Diddy's baby oil? Baby oil, definitely. I don't want urine on me. Evermore says, the best gay channel ever, and it is a safe space. You're into gay channels? Okay. Jay says, you are a cigarette. No, I am not. Carl says, what do you like doing the most? Video editing. Prodigy says, can I please have fries with that? What? Polly says, my main YouTube channel got hacked and it almost had 400 subs. I'm sorry to hear that. That's your progress disappeared. Jay says, baby content. This is content for babies. Okay. Dom says, bro, why are you so chopped? I don't know, I guess genetics. Tora says, should I learn Spanish or Italian? I want to do one, but can't pick. Spanish. Vanessa says, I subscribed. Welcome. Chelsea says, do you appreciate the subscriptions you have? Yeah, I guess a little bit. Alloy says, do some water break. You are constantly talking. I should drink more water when doing these live streams, but I don't like being on camera and having this moment of no talking and awkwardness. Jana says, I was on your old channel that you deleted. Okay. Rage says, how many pair of shoes can you wear at once? I mean, what I do is I just wear one. Dom says, damn bro, how are you gay? And Chopped, I'm not gay. B says, Don, show us your twin. No. P1 says, Jesus loves you. Thank you, but I don't believe in that. Coca-Cola says, GB cigarette. Is GB a short for a country or something? Jana says, I already read that. And again, okay. Tommy says, how many layers you wearing? Just 2. P1 says, you're so nonchalant. Okay. Young says, bro looks like he's hiding something. I mean, everyone is. Godzilla says, have you watched Friday the 13th? I haven't. Jay says, do you want kids? I would like one kid. Bunny says, how are you handling these weird comments, bro? It's not hard. It's just text on a screen. Maybe if it was in person, but ESU says, are you a robber? No. Stick says, where are you from? America. B says, Don, why are you transgender? I'm not trans. Alex says, John 14:6. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I've read that before many times, but I don't believe in it. But thank you. Alloy says, how long do you typically stream? Half an hour. Super says, you're my favorite LGBTQ streamer. I don't think of myself as that, but okay. You're into gay streamers? Okay. Stroms says, yo, Don. What's up, Stroms? Scavenger says, can you play video games? I play Minecraft Java Edition occasionally. Blick says, do you goon brosif? No. AJ says, whatever that is. Okay. Fuck you says, do you eat it from the back? No comment. Chelsea says, do you ever smile? Yeah, but I do. Jay says, are you 18? I'm an adult. Genuine says, hey guys, he seems like a nice fella. Why so many abusive and ridiculous questions? I don't mind the crazy questions. I actually find them interesting. Tora says, I miss that grandma kinda typing girl. She was low-key fun. You're talking about Jacqueline. She's still around sometimes. Someone says, I like your hair. What do I use? I use fiber cream. The Heaven says Yahweh or JX1DX. I don't know what that stuff is. Vanessa says, how old are you? I'm going to keep that private, but again, I am an adult. Alex says, what religion do you think is most mocked, hated, and despised? I mean, I don't know. I guess Islam. Juju says, let me tell you a joke. Why did the chicken cross the road? So they can meet you. Huh? It was very funny, right? Laugh or you're gay. Uh, it it wasn't that funny. Techno says, do you want to join StreamYard and talk? Do you want to join the stream and like talk to me on the stream? I'm not interested in that, sorry. Strom says, Don, do you remember Mike Oxlong? No. Zoac says, that means he's gay. I guess, sure, whatever. Jana says, do you remember me from the old channel? I was Hey. I don't remember you. Sorry. I have received a super chat from Abos Layman, 10 SAR, Saudi Arabia dollars, I think that is. Absolayman says, I like you, because I like people who cut their own hair. You're saying that my hair looks bad. I would like it to look different. Thank you again for your super chat, Absolayman. Thank you, Saudi Arabia Prince. Alex says, charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting. Okay. Blick says, are you a top or a bottom? No comment. Bunny says, you're having zero energy, dude. Why? That's just my personality. The Hawk says, hello. Hello, Hawk. Genuine says, what's your opinion on Donald Trump? I'm gonna not talk about politics. Juju says, brush your teeth. I do. They're just permanently yellow. The Synth Wizard says, guess the movie. Let me see. No notification emoji, sheep emoji, knife emoji. Oh, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. B says, Don, do you have a good gaming PC? I do. It's beefy. B Right says, what's up? Hello, B Right. Sun says, Chase, Demore beats Joshua and Inno. Okay. Your local says, guess this. Emoji, dead day, hand emoji. I don't know. Ickle says, Lord Don has beef machine. It has 64 gigabytes of RAM. Marcus super chatted $1 Australian. Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate it. That's nice of you. Thank you again. Matt says, everything about this is cringe. Why do any of you do this? Seems like a complete waste of life. I mean, live streaming like this, streams like this, I guess in a way is wasteful. But I mean, this isn't much different to like YouTube videos, TikTok videos. Den says, you look like the frontman from Squid Game. I haven't watched that show. Someone says, Matt should shut up. You're great. I mean, he does have a point, but I don't know. Lil says, remember me. I remember your name. Yeah. Sun says, eat shit or suck cock, bro. I'll cross that bridge if and when I get there. Josh says, would you fuck a big black man in a Walmart? No. Aimbert says, I like your voice. It's soothing. Thank you. B says, what's your GPU? I think it's a GTX 1060. Zaf says, what is your streaming platform? Like OBS. I use OBS and this thing. I just put it in the chat. It's called StreamYard. Yeah. Someone says, "Are you American?" I am American, yeah. Randy says, "Don, do you ever have affections for fat older men?" No, zero. Tora says, "My brother bought shuttle and it said cock in bright pink letters, and I laughed out loud in the store. Help." That's why would something have that like just on the top of the product? That's weird. Echo says, "Ask me a question. What's an addiction that you have or have overcome?" Aussie says, "Do you like dogs or cats more?" I like dogs more. Ickle says, "It's a cock shuttle." Oh, is that a chicken thing? I don't know what that is. Marcus super chatted another Australian dollar. Thank you, Marcus, for your 2 in total Australian dollars. I'm gonna end the stream now. Bye, everyone.